Marcus Chen stepped out of his apartment building into the cold Seattle rain, pulling his jacket tighter around his shoulders. The software engineer had just finished another 16-hour coding session, and his eyes burned with exhaustion. The streetlights cast yellow pools on the wet pavement as he walked toward the corner grocery store, hoping they still had something decent for dinner. That's when he heard it, a soft mewling coming from the alley beside his building. Marcus paused, listening. There it was again, definitely cats, and they sounded distressed. He pulled out his phone's flashlight and peered into the narrow space between buildings. His light revealed a heartbreaking scene. 5 cats huddled together behind a dumpster, their fur matted and wet from the rain. "Hey there, little guys," Marcus said softly, crouching down. The cats looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. 4 of them were clearly strays, a orange tabby, 2 black cats, and a gray one with white patches. But the 5th cat caught his attention immediately. She was stunning, with silver fur that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light, and the most unusual eyes he'd ever seen on a cat. They were deep purple, almost violet, and held an intelligence that made him pause. She was also clearly pregnant, her belly round and heavy. "Oh, sweetheart," Marcus whispered, his heart breaking. "You're going to have Bobbies soon, aren't you?" The silver cat tilted her head, studying him with those remarkable eyes. For a moment, Marcus felt an odd sensation, as if she was looking directly into his soul, weighing and measuring him. Then she let out a soft chirp and took a tentative step forward. Marcus had always been a sucker for animals in need. His ex-girlfriend, Sarah, used to tease him about it, saying he'd bring home every stray in the city if she let him. Well, Sarah was gone now, and these cats needed help. "All right," he said, making a decision that would change his life forever. "Let's get you all somewhere warm." It took nearly an hour to coax all 5 cats into the pet carriers he bought from the 24-hour pet store down the street. The silver cat, whom he decided to call Luna because of her otherworldly appearance, seemed to understand what he was trying to do and actually helped, making soft sounds that encouraged the other cats to trust him. Back in his apartment, Marcus set up a cozy area in his living room with blankets, food, and water bowls. The cats explored cautiously, except for Luna, who immediately claimed the most comfortable spot on his couch and settled in as if she owned the place. Over the next few days, Marcus fell into a routine. He'd work from home, taking breaks to check on his new housemates. The 4 strays, whom he named Oliver, Midnight, Shadow, and Patches, gradually warmed up to him. But Luna was different. She followed him around the apartment, seeming to watch everything he did with intense interest. Sometimes he caught her staring at his computer screen as he coded, her purple eyes tracking the scrolling text as if she could read it. Other times, he'd find her sitting by the window, gazing up at the sky with an expression that looked almost homesick. "You're a weird cat," Marcus told her one evening as she sat beside him while he worked. "But I like you." Luna made a sound that was almost like a laugh. The strangest thing happened a week after he'd brought them home. Marcus was debugging a particularly stubborn piece of code when Luna jumped onto his desk and began walking across his keyboard. Instead of random characters, the screen showed a complex algorithm that solved the exact problem he'd been struggling with for hours. Marcus stared at the screen, then at Luna, who was now sitting primly beside his laptop, cleaning her paw. "Did you just debug my code?" he asked incredulously. Luna's only response was to bump her head against his hand affectionately. Marcus convinced himself it was a coincidence. Cats walked on keyboards all the time, and sometimes random keystrokes happened to create something useful. It was just luck. But then it happened again and again. Every time Marcus encountered a complex programming problem, Luna would somehow, accidentally, provide the solution. His productivity skyrocketed. The project he'd been working on for months was suddenly weeks ahead of schedule. His boss started praising his innovative approaches to problems that had stumped the entire team. "I don't know what's gotten into you lately, Marcus," his colleague Jake said during a video call. "But whatever it is, keep it up. This AI framework you've designed is revolutionary." As Jake spoke, Luna hopped onto Marcus's desk and sat in front of the camera. Jake's eyes widened. "Dude, is that cat's eyes actually purple? That's incredible. I've never seen anything like that." Marcus looked at Luna, who seemed to be studying Jake through the screen with the same intense focus she applied to everything else. "Yeah, she's special," Marcus said, scratching behind Luna's ears. "Found her as a stray." "Lucky her," Jake said. Hey, those other cats behind you, how many do you have now? Marcus glanced around. The other 4 cats were visible in the background, but there seemed to be more of them. He counted quickly and realized there were now 8 cats in his apartment. I think they had some friends, Marcus said weakly. After the call ended, Marcus stood in his living room looking at his expanded feline family. Somehow, 3 more cats had appeared in his apartment. He was certain he'd only brought home 5, but now there were definitely 8. They were all clean, well-fed, and comfortable, as if they'd always lived there. Luna sat in the center of the group, and for a moment, Marcus could have sworn the other cats were arranged around her like subjects around a queen. Luna, he said slowly, what exactly are you? The silver cat looked at him with those impossible purple eyes, and Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. For just an instant, he could have sworn he saw something vast and ancient looking back at him through those eyes, something far older and more powerful than any house cat. Then Luna mewed softly and rubbed against his leg, and the moment passed. That night, Marcus was awakened by a strange humming sound. He opened his eyes to find his apartment filled with a soft, silvery light. All 8 cats were arranged in a circle around Luna, who was sitting in the center with her eyes closed, the light seeming to emanate from her fur. As Marcus watched in amazement, Luna's belly began to glow more brightly. She was going into labor, but this was unlike any birth he'd ever witnessed. The light pulsed gently, and he felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of peace and protection that was almost overwhelming. Over the next hour, Luna gave birth to 4 kittens, each one emerging in a soft burst of that strange light. But these weren't ordinary kittens. Their fur shimmered with the same otherworldly quality as their mother's, and their eyes, when they opened them, held the same ancient intelligence. As the last kitten was born, the silver light faded, and Luna looked up at Marcus with an expression that was unmistakably grateful. Marcus sank into his chair, his mind reeling. Whatever Luna was, she wasn't just a cat. The evidence was overwhelming, the impossible problem-solving, the way other cats were drawn to her, the otherworldly birth he'd just witnessed. But as he looked at her cleaning her newborns with gentle care, he realized something important. It didn't matter what she was. She'd needed help, and he'd given it. She was part of his family now, along with all the others. Well, he said softly, I guess 12 cats isn't too many. Luna looked up at him and made a sound that was definitely approval. Outside, the Seattle rain continued to fall, but inside Marcus's apartment, a warmth was growing that had nothing to do with the heating system. He didn't know it yet, but his simple act of kindness had just changed the fate of not just his own world, but countless others across the galaxy. Somewhere in the depths of space, ancient beings were taking notice of the human who had sheltered a banished dragon queen, and they were not pleased. Marcus Chen's quiet life as a software engineer was about to become very interesting indeed. The next morning, Marcus woke to find his apartment had changed again. Not dramatically, the furniture was the same, the layout identical, but there were subtle differences. The plants on his windowsill were healthier and more vibrant than they'd been the day before. The air seemed fresher, cleaner, and there was a sense of protection, as if the very walls of his home had been strengthened. Luna was nursing her kittens in a nest she'd somehow constructed from materials that definitely hadn't been in his apartment before. The blankets looked like they were woven from silk, but with a shimmer that suggested something far more exotic. The other cats were arranged around her in that same protective formation, and Marcus noticed that each of them now wore what looked like simple collars, though he was certain he hadn't put any on them. Morning, everyone, Marcus said, and was surprised when all 12 cats turned to look at him in perfect unison, as if responding to a commander. Luna chirped a greeting, and somehow Marcus understood that she was thanking him again. As he prepared for another day of work, Marcus reflected on how drastically his life had changed in just 2 weeks. He'd gone from a lonely software engineer working too many hours to, well, still a software engineer working too many hours, but now he had a family. A very unusual family, but a family nonetheless. He had no idea that across the galaxy, in the crystalline halls of the Draconic High Council, alarms were beginning to sound. The banished queen's signature had been detected, and worse, she appeared to be regaining her strength. The hunt was about to begin. 3 weeks after Luna gave birth, Marcus's life had settled into a comfortable rhythm. His apartment, once quiet and sterile, now buzzed with feline activity. The 12 cats had organized themselves into what could only be described as a functioning society, with Luna clearly in charge and the others taking on specific roles. Oliver, the orange tabby, seemed to be Luna's second-in-command, often sitting beside her during what Marcus had started thinking of as their council meetings, times when all the cats would gather around Luna and sit in perfect silence, as if receiving instructions. Marcus had stopped questioning the weird things that happened around his apartment. His internet connection had somehow become faster than anything available to consumers. His electric bills had dropped to almost nothing, despite running multiple heaters to keep the cats comfortable. And his code continued to be revolutionary, with Luna's helpful keyboard walking sessions resulting in breakthroughs that were attracting attention from tech companies around the world. What he didn't know was that 3 ships had just entered Earth's solar system, their sleek forms invisible to human detection systems. The vessels belonged to the Draconic Council, and they carried hunters specifically trained to capture rogue dragons who had fled to primitive worlds. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of the lead ship, his reptilian features twisted into a scowl as he studied the readings on his scanner. After 3 months of following the Banished Queen's energy signature across half the galaxy, they'd finally tracked her to this insignificant blue planet on the edge of nowhere. "Are you certain she's here?" Vex asked his lieutenant, a smaller dragon named Kess. "Positive, sir. The readings are unmistakable. Queen Zephyra's life force is definitely on the 3rd planet. But," Kess hesitated. "But what?" "The signature is strange, sir. It's diminished, but also somehow more stable than when we first detected it, as if she's found a way to anchor herself." Vex's eyes narrowed. "Show me the dominant species of this planet." The main screen flickered to life, displaying images of humans going about their daily lives. Vex snorted in disgust. Bipedal mammals, barely past their tribal stage, no apparent magical abilities. He studied the images with cold calculation. Perfect for hiding, she's probably manipulating them, using their primitive emotions to sustain herself. "Orders, sir." "Begin scanning for her exact location. But be careful, even banished, Zephyra is still one of the most powerful dragons alive. We don't want to spook her into fleeing again." Back in Seattle, Marcus was having lunch when he noticed Luna's behavior change. She'd been playing with her kittens when she suddenly went rigid, her purple eyes staring at nothing. The other cats immediately responded, forming their protective circle around her. "Luna, what's wrong, girl?" Luna's eyes refocused on him, and for a moment, Marcus saw something in them that chilled him to the bone. Fear. And not the simple fear of an animal, but the complex, understanding fear of someone who knew exactly what was coming. She jumped down from her perch and padded over to Marcus's computer, where she began that strange keyboard walking again. But this time, instead of code, words appeared on the screen. "They are coming." Marcus stared at the screen. "Luna, did you just type that?" Luna looked up at him, and this time she didn't hide what she was. The air around her shimmered, and for just an instant, Marcus saw not a cat, but a magnificent dragon with silver scales and those same purple eyes, regal and ancient and terrifyingly beautiful. Then she was just Luna again, but the illusion was broken forever. "You're not a cat at all, are you?" Marcus whispered. Luna made a sound that was unmistakably an apology. Then she turned back to the keyboard. "I am sorry I deceived you. I had no choice." Marcus sat down heavily, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. "What are you?" "Once I was queen of the silver dragons. Now I am Banished hunted. They stripped most of my power and cast me out." "Why?" "I refused to destroy a world of INNOCNTS. The council called IT weakness." Marcus looked around at the other cats, understanding dawning. "And them?" "My royal guard. They chose exile with me rather than serve the council." "And your kittens?" "Hope for the future. Dragons born free of the council's corruption." Marcus stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the ordinary Seattle street. When he turned back, Luna was watching him with those ancient eyes, waiting for his reaction. "So when you said they are coming, who exactly is looking for you?" "Hunters. They will destroy anyone who has helped me." Marcus felt a cold knot form in his stomach. "Anyone?" Luna lowered her head, and he could feel the weight of her guilt. "I never meant to put you in danger. I will leave tonight." "No." Luna's head snapped up, surprise clear in her expression. No, Marcus repeated more firmly. You're not leaving. This is your home now. Ours. He gestured to the other cats. All of you. But the danger. I don't care. Marcus surprised himself with how certain he sounded. You needed help, and I gave it. That doesn't change just because you're a dragon queen instead of a pregnant stray cat. Luna stared at him for a long moment, then padded over and rubbed against his leg, a gesture that now carried far more meaning than simple feline affection. Humans are strange creatures. Yeah, well, we're stubborn too. What do these hunters look like? How long do we have? As if summoned by his words, every electronic device in the apartment suddenly turned on by itself. The TV, radio, his computer, his phone, all of them began displaying the same message in a dozen different languages. Queen ZEPHYRA of the Silver Dragons, by order of the High Council, surrender yourself for judgment. You have until sunset to comply. Failure to do so will result in the sterilization of this sector. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. Sterilization. Luna's typing was urgent now. They will destroy everything. Every human, animal, plant. They will burn the atmosphere and leave this world a dead rock. How many people live in this sector? Luna's pause was answer enough. Then the entire continent. Marcus stared at the screen, trying to comprehend the magnitude of what she was telling him. Hundreds of millions of lives, ended just to capture one banished dragon queen. That's insane. They'd commit genocide just to get to you. To the Council, URINSCTS. They feel no more guilt about EXTRMNATNG you than you would about spraying Ant Killer. Marcus felt anger building in his chest, hot and fierce. He thought about his neighbors, his co-workers, random strangers walking their dogs outside. All of them marked for death because he'd shown kindness to a creature in need. No, he said quietly. Luna looked up at him. No, he repeated louder this time. That's not happening. I don't care who these council dragons think they are. They don't get to murder innocent people. But what can we do? I am WAKNED, MY Guard is small, and the hunters are among the most powerful of our kind. Marcus was quiet for a moment thinking. Then he smiled, and it wasn't a particularly nice smile. Luna, you said you were banished for refusing to destroy innocents, right? That the council called it weakness. Yes. Well, maybe it's time you showed them what human weakness looks like. He turned to his computer and began typing rapidly. I'm a software engineer. I solve problems for a living, and right now we have a very big problem that needs a very creative solution. Luna watched him work, her purple eyes beginning to gleam with something that might have been hope. First things first, Marcus muttered as he coded. If they want to threaten my planet, they're going to have to deal with my planet's defenses. What defenses? Luna typed. Marcus grinned. The ones I'm about to build. Outside, the first of the hunting ships broke through Earth's atmosphere, confident in their superiority and completely unprepared for what they were about to face. They expected to find a primitive world with no defenses, populated by simple creatures who could be easily swept aside. They had no idea they were about to encounter the most dangerous force in the galaxy, a human with nothing to lose and a very good reason to fight. Marcus Chen was about to introduce the Draconic Council to humanity's greatest strength, the absolute refusal to go quietly into the night. As he worked, Luna and her guard positioned themselves around the apartment, and Marcus could feel the change in the air. Whatever power Luna had left was awakening, and it was angry. Very angry indeed. The message on the screens changed. 4 hours to compliance. Marcus cracked his knuckles and kept typing. Come and get her, he whispered, but you're going to have to go through me first. Unknown to him, his defiant words were being monitored by the hunter's equipment. Commander Vex laughed when he heard them. The little mammal thinks it can challenge us? How amusing. Kess, prepare the extermination protocols. We'll make an example of this world that will discourage others from sheltering our enemies. But as the first hunting ship descended toward Seattle, its sensors detected something unexpected. Massive amounts of energy being drawn from the planet's electrical grid, all converging on a single point in the city. Commander, Kess said nervously, the readings from the target location are unusual. Define unusual. The primitive's dwelling appears to be drawing enough power to light their entire city. And sir, the Queen's signature is growing stronger, not weaker. For the first time since beginning the hunt, Commander Vex felt a flicker of unease. What was happening down there? He was about to find out. With 2 hours until the deadline, Marcus's apartment had transformed into something that would have been impossible to explain to anyone who hadn't seen it happen. Every electronic device in the building was networked together, humming with power drawn from the city's electrical grid through connections that shouldn't have been physically possible. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with energy, and the air shimmered with heat distortions. Luna had abandoned her cat form entirely now. She stood in the center of the living room in her true shape, a magnificent silver dragon the size of a large horse, her scales gleaming with inner light. Her 4 guard dragons flanked her, their own transformations revealing why they'd been her personal protectors. Each was a master of different combat disciplines, their forms marked with battle scars that spoke of long service to their queen. But it was Luna's kittens that truly amazed Marcus. As they grew in the accelerated time field their mother had created around them, they revealed abilities that even adult dragons rarely possessed. They were hybrids, part dragon and part something else, something that resonated with the raw creative force that Luna had absorbed during her time among humans. "Status report," Marcus called out, his fingers flying across multiple keyboards simultaneously. The AI he'd designed was learning and evolving in real time, fed by Luna's knowledge of draconic technology and his understanding of human innovation. Luna's voice now filled the room directly, no longer needing keyboards or screens. "The hunters have taken position in orbit, 3 ships, approximately 50 dragons total. Commander Vex leads them, he's ruthless but overconfident." "Perfect, overconfident enemies make mistakes." Marcus pulled up a holographic display that showed the positions of the hunting ships. "Are they as arrogant as you described?" "Worse, they see humans as barely sentient animals. They won't expect resistance." "Good," Marcus grinned, and there was something predatory in his expression that would have surprised anyone who knew the quiet software engineer. "Time to show them what this barely sentient animal can do." Through the apartment's enhanced sensors, they watched as the lead hunting ship descended toward the city. Its captain, Commander Vex, was already composing his report to the council about the successful extermination of the rogue queen and her hiding place. He was so confident in his superiority that he didn't notice when every satellite in Earth's orbit suddenly turned to focus on his ship. Marcus had spent the last 2 hours doing what humans do best, turning peaceful technology into weapons of war. Every communications satellite, whether monitoring station and orbital debris tracker, had been repurposed into a massive sensor network. More importantly, he'd hacked into every military system on Earth, convincing them that an alien invasion was in progress and that the unidentified ships posed an immediate threat to planetary security. "Incoming transmission from the human governments," Luna reported, amusement clear in her voice. "They're demanding to know who you are and how you access their classified systems." "Tell them I'll explain later. Right now we have bigger problems." Marcus activated the next phase of his plan. "Luna, I need you to do something that's going to sound crazy. Crazier than a human challenging the Draconic High Council. I need you to surrender." The apartment went silent. Luna's guards turned to stare at Marcus in shock. "Marcus," Luna said carefully, "I don't think you understand. If I surrender, you'll be taken aboard their ship, where you'll be in the perfect position to take control of their vessel from the inside while I handle their friends up here." Marcus pulled up another display showing the power readings from his improvised network. "Trust me on this one. I have a plan." Luna studied him for a moment, her ancient eyes taking in the determined set of his shoulders, the way he moved with confident purpose despite facing enemies that could destroy planets. "You're not just a software engineer, are you?" she asked quietly. Marcus paused in his typing. "My grandfather was a Marine, my father was Army Special Forces. I joined the tech industry instead of the military, but that doesn't mean I don't know how to fight." He looked up at her. "It just means I fight with different weapons." Before Luna could respond, Commander Vex's voice boomed through every speaker in the city, his words translated into dozens of languages. "Humans of this world, you are harboring a criminal. Surrender Queen Zephyra to us immediately or face the consequences of your defiance." Marcus activated his response system. broadcasting back on the same frequency with enough power to reach every ship in the hunting fleet. This is Marcus Chen, protector of Queen Zephyra and representative of humanity. Your queen is under our protection. If you want her, come and take her. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Vex's laughter echoed across the city. A human dares to challenge the draconic High Council. You amuse me, little mammal. Very well, we accept your challenge. Prepare to witness the power of true dragons. Marcus, Luna whispered, are you certain about this? Marcus stood up from his computers and walked over to her, reaching up to place his hand on her great silver snout. Luna, 3 weeks ago you were a pregnant stray cat in an alley, scared and alone. I took you in because you needed help. Now you're offering to face 3 ships of dragon hunters to protect my world from destruction. He smiled. If you can be that brave, so can I. Luna lowered her great head until her purple eyes were level with his. You realize that even if we survive this, the Council will never stop hunting us. They'll send more ships, more hunters. Let them come, Earth will be ready. As if summoned by his words, alerts began pouring in from military installations around the world. Every major power on Earth was mobilizing, their leaders finally unified by the presence of a common threat. Fighter jets were scrambling, missile systems were coming online, and somewhere in the depths of NORAD, general officers were dusting off contingency plans that had been filed under alien invasion. Unlikely, but prepare anyway. The humans are responding faster than I expected, Luna observed, watching the feeds from Marcus's network. Most species take days to coordinate this kind of response. That's because most species probably don't have 24-hour news networks and social media. Word spreads fast when everyone has a camera and an internet connection. Marcus checked his displays. Vex is getting impatient. He's starting his descent. Then it's time. Luna straightened to her full height. Marcus, if something goes wrong. Nothing will go wrong. We've got this. Luna's guards took their positions around the apartment as she activated the emergency beacon that would signal her surrender to the hunters. But as Commander Vex's ship approached the building, he had no idea that he was flying into the most sophisticated trap that had ever been laid for a dragon. Marcus's fingers danced across his keyboards, activating systems that no single human should have been able to access. But then, no single human had ever had a dragon queen helping him hack into the planetary defense grid. Luna, on my mark, drop your shields and let them beam you aboard their ship, but keep this channel open. He tapped the communication device he'd jury-rigged to her collar. I'll need to coordinate with you once you're inside. And if your plan fails? Marcus grinned. Then we improvise. That's another thing humans are good at. The hunting ship settled into a hover above the apartment building, its tractor beam powering up to extract the surrendering queen. Commander Vex stood in the transport bay, personally ready to take custody of his prize. Beam her up, he ordered. Luna vanished in a column of light, leaving Marcus alone with her guards and her rapidly growing kittens. Phase 1 complete, Marcus announced. Now for the fun part. Aboard Vex's ship, Luna materialized in the transport bay and immediately allowed herself to be fitted with power-dampening shackles. She played the role of defeated queen perfectly, keeping her head low and her wings folded submissively. So, Vex gloated as he circled her. The mighty Queen Zephyra reduced to hiding among primitive mammals. How the mighty have fallen. I sought only peace, Luna replied quietly. Peace, Vex laughed. You sought weakness, but no matter. The Council has plans for you. They're going to make an example of your defiance that will discourage others from following your path. What Vex didn't notice was the tiny device hidden in Luna's collar, or the way her eyes briefly flashed with purple light as she established contact with Marcus's network. I'm in, her voice whispered through Marcus's earpiece. Beginning phase 2. Back in the apartment, Marcus activated the trap he'd spent 2 hours preparing. Every satellite in Earth's orbit suddenly focused their transmitters on the hunting ships, flooding them with enough electromagnetic interference to blind their sensors. At the same time, missile batteries across 6 continents launched their payloads, not nuclear weapons, but specially modified EMP warheads designed to disable electronic systems without destroying them. The 2 escort ships, caught completely off guard, found their shields failing as wave after wave of electromagnetic pulses slammed into them. Their crews scrambled to restore power, but Marcus had designed the attack to overwhelm their recovery systems faster than they could adapt. Aboard Vex's ship, Luna felt the moment when the vessel's power grid fluctuated. It was the opening she'd been waiting for. The shackles that bound her were designed to suppress draconic magic, but they hadn't been built to handle the hybrid power she'd developed during her time on Earth. Drawing on the creative force she'd absorbed from Marcus and the innovative spirit of humanity itself, Luna shattered her bonds and erupted into her full draconic form. "Impossible," Vex snarled, his own transformation beginning. "Those shackles were forged by the Council's greatest artificers." "The Council never encountered anything like human ingenuity," Luna replied, her voice echoing with power. "You're about to learn why they should have." The battle that followed would be remembered in draconic lore for centuries. Vex was a skilled warrior, trained in the traditional combat forms that had served the Council for millennia. But Luna fought with techniques that had never existed before, using tactics inspired by human creativity and innovation. More importantly, she wasn't fighting alone. Through her connection to Marcus's network, she could see the entire battle space, coordinate with the human military forces, and adapt to threats faster than any dragon in history. "Marcus," she called through their link, "I need you to target their main reactor. I can override their safety systems from here, but I need cover fire." "Already on it," came Marcus's reply. "F-22 squadron inbound on your location in 30 seconds. Duck." Luna pressed herself against the bulkhead as a flight of human fighter jets screamed past the ship's viewport, their missiles slamming into the vessel's shield generators. The combined assault from multiple directions was more than Vex's crew could handle. "Surrender," Luna commanded, her voice amplified through the ship's communication system. "Your ships are disabled, your crew is beaten, and reinforcements are 3 months away. This ends now." Vex, bloodied and defeated, glared at her with hatred. "The Council will never forgive this humiliation. They'll send the entire fleet to glass this world." "Let them try," came a new voice. Everyone turned to see Marcus materializing on the ship's bridge via the same transport system they'd used to bring Luna aboard. But he wasn't alone. Behind him stood representatives of every major military force on Earth, all of them armed with weapons that Luna had helped design using her knowledge of draconic weaknesses. "Allow me to introduce myself properly," Marcus said, stepping forward with casual confidence that belied the magnitude of what had just occurred. "Marcus Chen, systems engineer and recently appointed director of Earth's Planetary Defense Initiative." He smiled. "We've been expecting you." Vex's expression shifted from anger to confusion. "Expecting us, but this world was primitive, defenseless." "Was being the operative term," interrupted General Morrison, the Pentagon's liaison to the new defense program. "We've been preparing for this possibility ever since we confirmed the existence of hostile alien civilizations." "You couldn't have known." Marcus activated a holographic display that showed the positions of ships hidden throughout the solar system, vessels that appeared to be asteroids, until you looked at them with the right sensors. "We've been watching your kind for decades," Marcus lied smoothly. "Did you really think a species capable of interstellar travel wouldn't have scouts monitoring potential threats?" The truth was that he'd hacked into every deep space monitoring system on Earth and had been tracking the hunting ships since they entered the solar system. But Vex didn't need to know that. Luna stepped forward, her form shifting back to her silver cat appearance as she jumped into Marcus's arms. To the dragon hunters, it looked like a simple human-animal bond. They had no idea they were witnessing the first true partnership between species in galactic history. "Commander Vex," Luna said, her voice now coming from the collar device, "you will return to the Council with this message. Earth and its inhabitants are under the protection of the Silver Dragon Queen and her human allies. Any attempt to harm this world or its people will be met with the full force of both our technologies combined. The Council will never accept such terms from exiled criminals and primitive mammals." "Then the Council will learn what happens when they underestimate humans," Marcus said calmly. "Luna, show him." The apartment building below suddenly began to glow with silver light. Through the ship's viewports, the dragons could see energy flowing through the city's power grid, connecting to similar grids around the world. In moments, the entire planet was outlined in a network of power that registered on their sensors as stronger than anything they'd ever encountered. This world is now defended by technology that combines human innovation with draconic knowledge, Luna announced. We call it the Terran Defense Network. It's powered by the creative force of 8 billion humans working in harmony with dragon magic. What she didn't mention was that most of it was still theoretical, existing mainly in computer simulations and Marcus's imagination. But the energy readings were real enough, drawn from the hope and determination of every human who had watched the sky that day and refused to surrender. "Take your ships and go," Marcus commanded. "Tell your council that humanity stands with Queen Zephyra, and if they want to test our resolve, they're welcome to try." As the hunting ships limped away from Earth, their crews traumatized by their first encounter with human stubbornness and ingenuity, Marcus and Luna stood on the roof of his apartment building, watching the stars. "Do you think they'll be back?" Marcus asked. Luna, in her cat form, purred contentedly in his arms. "Oh, they'll be back. The council doesn't forgive humiliation easily." "Good, by then we'll be ready for them." "Wait." Marcus scratched behind her ears. "Well, you didn't think I was going to let you face them alone, did you? Besides, I have a feeling that defending Earth is going to be a full-time job." Luna looked up at him with those impossible purple eyes. "Are you sure? It won't be easy. The council has resources you can't imagine." "So do we. We have something they don't." "What's that?" Marcus smiled, looking out at the city where millions of humans were already getting back to their normal lives, adapting to the new reality with the same resilience their species had always shown. "We have each other, dragons and humans working together. That's something the galaxy has never seen before." He gently stroked her fur. "Besides, I told you 3 weeks ago you're family now, and humans protect their family." As they spoke, reports were already flooding in from around the world. Governments were establishing formal first contact protocols. Scientists were requesting meetings to discuss the implications of dragon magic. Engineers were proposing new technologies that combined human innovation with draconic knowledge. And in apartment buildings, houses, and shelters across the planet, people were looking at their cats with new eyes, wondering if perhaps their pets were more than they seemed. The age of dragons and humans had begun, started by a simple act of kindness in a rainy Seattle alley. And somewhere in the depths of space, the Draconic Council was discovering that their biggest mistake had been underestimating the power of compassion. Marcus Chen, software engineer turned planetary defender, was about to become very busy indeed. But as he looked down at Luna and her growing family, he knew he wouldn't have it any other way. After all, every great alliance had to start somewhere. And this one had started with a man who couldn't walk past a group of homeless cats without stopping to help. It was the most human thing imaginable, and it was going to change the galaxy forever. The end. Years later, when historians wrote about the first human-dragon war, they would note that it began not with grand strategies or technological superiority, but with a single act of kindness. Marcus Chen's decision to help some stray cats in an alley had cascaded into the formation of the Terran Dragon Alliance, a partnership that would eventually bring peace to a galaxy that had known only domination and submission. But that night, as Luna settled into her favorite spot on Marcus's couch with her kittens arranged around her, none of them were thinking about history. They were just a family, grateful to have found each other in a vast and sometimes hostile universe. And outside their window, the stars seemed a little brighter, as if the cosmos itself approved of their unlikely alliance.